Now we have some problems that have to do with what's called transformations, and that may not be a word you've heard before. Basically, a transformation is changing the orientation of a shape or the position of a shape by doing one of three things to it. The first one is called translation, and a translation is pretty easy. This is my little flag-shaped shape, and a translation means you just stick your finger on it and you slide it. Maybe you go up and down, maybe you go side to side, but that's all you're doing. You're keeping the direction of the thing the same, you're just grabbing it and shoving it. That's translation. Another kind of transformation is a rotation. And you can think about a rotation as maybe putting your finger down on one end of it and then spinning. So you turn it around in a circle around some point. That's rotation. And another kind of transformation would be a reflection. And that would be what you would get if you put a mirror up to the thing. Or you can also think of it as flipping. So to reflect this over, let's say I'll reflect it over this line right here, I would flip it, if I can grab this thing, like that, and it would be the mirror image of the shape I started with. So translation is just moving. Rotation is kind of spinning it around a point, and reflection is flipping it or showing the mirror image. All right, let's look at a couple problems. This first one says, which transformation is shown in the figures? And we got two figures here. It's a little tough to see because they kind of run into each other. This top flag-shaped piece and this bottom flag-shaped piece. So the question is, how could you get this one to turn into that one? What would you have to do? Could you spin it to get that? Could you flip it to get that? Or would you just have to slide it? Well, in this case, I hope it kind of looks obvious that you could just put your finger on this top one and just slide it down and you'd get that one. So that would be just plain old translation. All right, this next one's a little trickier. Let's say you started with this figure right here. What would you have to do to get this figure? You couldn't just slide it, because if you put your finger down on that and you move it side to side, the flag would still be upright, and this flag down here is lying on its back. So that's not going to work. What you need to do in this case is actually think about pinning it down right here and then spinning it. If you were to do that, if you were to rotate it that way, you would end up with this figure. So this is a rotation. And one more here. And this one's pretty tricky. So here's triangle 1 right here, and here's triangle 2. What do you have to do to get from triangle 1 to triangle 2? And it might be easier to show with some actual loose triangles. Let me grab some. I think that shows the same orientation now. And we're going to start with this one up here, and we're going to try to turn it into this one. And I think in this one, you need two different transformations to make this work. You could start by pinning this top one down and rotating it so that it snugged right up against there. So there's your rotation. And then you could flip it over this way. So like that, and you would have that. So to get from 1 to 2, we rotate it around this way, and then we flip it this way, or reflect it. So that's rotation plus reflection. Had to do 2 to get that one, a little bit trickier. And those are some transformations.